While 4 people were arrested after breaching the outer security fence of the Democratic Convention in Chicago. Police said that a small group of around 100 demonstrators broke off from a larger march involving thousands of people and targeted the metal barrier surrounding the United Center on the first day of the party gathering. Protest groups have called for mass demonstrations throughout the week against Biden-Harris administration. All right, DD India's Benji Hire joins us live for more on the story from Washington. Benji, good morning. Now, Democratic National Convention has kicked off in Chicago, but get us more on the convention. We tell our viewers that Kamala Harris made a surprise visit. She appreciated and was grateful to President Biden for his leadership and his service to the country. Get us more highlights of her address and also get us more on the convention as well.
Well, it was a short appearance by the Vice President, who will make her main speech on Thursday, but she was met with a euphoric crowd at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, an event in which she will accept the nomination to top the ticket for the party and take on Donald Trump in November. In her brief remarks, she said that she's forever grateful to President Joe Biden for his lifetime of service, but also noted that, quote, "We are moving forward with optimism and hope." And I think ultimately this is the theme, the tone that we are seeing unfold, not just tonight in Chicago, but going forward for the remainder of the week during this convention, which is starting shortly with the speech of President Joe Biden, who will, I'm sure, speak to his legacy, I'm sure speak to his achievements, but will also frame this as a passing of the baton to that new generation, Kamala Harris included, who can breach that glass ceiling and win in November. Ultimately, his legacy, though, Joe Biden's, will be guided enormously as to by whether Kamala Harris can indeed beat the former president. I would expect the current president to get a resounding ovation from those that are attending the convention, delegates who would have voted for him to become president had he not stepped aside. But of course, he is still also addressing those in the room who were at the heart of the maneuverings to try to get him to make way for Kamala Harris. Mrs. Harris will be attending. She has been there throughout the night. She'll be watching Joe Biden's speech, but the president himself will be long gone by the time Kamala Harris addresses the crowd on Thursday. This, I think, also is something worth noting very briefly, which is this is now a united party. We have seen speakers tonight which include Hillary Clinton, the former candidate in 2016, wife of former President Bill Clinton, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a more progressive lawmaker, all now rallying behind the nominee, the vice president, who they see as their best chance to defeat Donald Trump.
All right, so that was about the convention, but then we also tell our viewers that the speech of Biden would focus on him on his tenure as the president of the United States. When we talk of the journey of President Biden, he has in fact had a long one, from being a worker to being the vice president of the country at one point and now leading the nation as the president. Let us get more from you. What kind of a legacy does he leave behind?
Look, it was a long and illustrious career, and I'm sure many Democrats will feel thankful that he capped it by becoming president and therefore becoming the only president, so far at least, to defeat Donald Trump at the ballot box. There will be an opportunity, no doubt, when he takes to the stage shortly to reflect on that, to reflect on his accomplishments and consistently brand Donald Trump, as he has done, as a danger to democracy. But that message of fear of the opponent has been replaced now with optimism and hope. And that is the resounding sentiment, and that is the resounding rhetoric. So I think ultimately, even if he is greeted, and he will be, by cheers and euphoria, every cheer, every fist raised will ultimately be a celebration, I think, of him and his legacy, but also his decision to not decide to go for a second term and to pass on to Kamala Harris. It will communicate reverence, I'm sure, but relief as well. And Joe Biden will know that when he takes to the stage during what will be, I'm sure, an emotional address. When he does take to the stage, of course, because we are running very late with proceedings at the convention. So he's going well beyond prime time here in the US. Some people may very well still stay up to watch him address this raucous crowd in Chicago.
Benji, a quick last word on how is the presidential race progressing? Because we tell our viewers that with the entry of Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee, prospective presidential nominee, things have turned around with respect to the support which Donald Trump was enjoying before Kamala Harris's entry as the prospective presidential nominee. How do you see the presidential race progress from here on?
I'd say that her entry into this contest has changed the game, but it's still too close to call. The vice president had enormous momentum. We've seen that translate from online memes into real on-the-ground support from the coalition of voters who backed Biden in 2020. People of color, women, anti-Trump Republicans, and especially the youth. But she will need to garner an even wider coalition of white working class Americans from rural America who lended their support towards Donald Trump of late. Now, her choice of a running mate in Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor, may go some way to encourage those voters on side, but a real test will be on the policy front. How well she can sell her vision of America, her values on the fronts of economy and immigration, rather than just rely on virality and vibes alone. It will also, I'm sure, depend on how Donald Trump's campaign will tackle Kamala Harris, where they will continue with their falsities, their falsehoods, their deceit, and their branding of her as a threat, attacking her personality, her race, her background, or whether they hone in on those very policies where there are holes and there are weaknesses in Kamala Harris's CV.
All right, Benji, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details.